If your self-esteem is based on winning, you will actually never have good self-esteem. So let's talk about the psychology of competition and what makes healthy competition and what makes unhealthy competition. So a healthy attitude towards competition can actually enhance happiness, whereas an unhealthy attitude towards competition can really make us miserable. And a lot of the videos you will see on this topic apply either to sports, like very competitive sports, or business. And while what I say here will also apply to those areas, I'm really speaking to the regular individual because we all face competition all the time. And since my channel focuses on helping people live more joyful lives, that will be the focus as we talk about competition today. And we'll talk about the deeper issues underlying unhealthy competition, the type of competition that really makes us miserable. We'll look at why we might have that attitude towards competition and what we can do about it. Competitiveness is actually a deeply ingrained trait in all humans in one way or another, and it's actually an evolutionary trait for us to move towards survival, both individual survival, right, accessing the resources we need to live, as well as the survival of our species in terms of finding a mate. So some level of competition has formed the societies we all live in, and sometimes that competition can be fairly collaborative and other times not at all. And actually, if you look at really any species, even you could look at plants, they compete for light. I was recently in the redwood forest in California, and the trees grow in a way where they are trying their hardest to reach sunlight. So on a very basic level, competition is the striving for resources to survive. So this deeply ingrained aspect of human behavior both influences our individual success and happiness, and it also influences societal progress or lack thereof. So let's talk about competition as a major motivator. Within psychology, competition is seen as a major motivator driving us towards success, and it can be driving us there in a way that's healthy for us, adaptive, right? Adaptive to our environment and to our health and happiness, or it could be driving us in a way that's maladaptive, both destructive for us and destructive for others in society. On the positive side, it gives us the drive to train, to improve, to develop new skills. It can even motivate us to collaborate with others so that we can all be more successful. It can lead us to trying to find creative solutions, and it can be a driver of innovation. On the flip side, our competitiveness can cause us to cheat, to be unfair, to disparage those we are competing against. And in those cases, we might be doing that. We might even succeed at winning, but we don't actually feel good about ourselves. Or it could be turned inward in terms of self-criticism, leading to depression and a lot of unhappiness. An unhealthy relationship with competition can also lead us to burnout, right? We can push and push too much until we burn out. And for some people, they have such a negative concept of competition that they never get in the game. They stay on the sidelines, either because they don't feel that they can compete, so they don't feel good enough about themselves, so they totally withdraw from any competition, or they might feel guilty if they do compete and win. They might see competition as a zero-sum game, in which case their guilt keeps them from competing at all. So let's outline some of the components of healthy and unhealthy competition. Healthy competition actually focuses on the process and the progress that you might make. It may also focus somewhat on the outcome, right? Because that's the goal of whatever activity we're engaged in. But if we are too focused on the outcome, it can end up being unhealthy. If we focus more on the process of how we're going to get there, the enjoyment of the game, so to speak, or the enjoyment of the challenge for ourselves, then it can actually be a life-enhancing feeling, a life-enhancing drive. But in that healthy view, the outcome is seen as part of the journey, not the entire thing. With an unhealthy sense of competition, the focus is entirely on the outcome, because at essence, there's a feeling that you are not worthwhile if you do not win. So much rides on winning that it's actually like whether you're a worthwhile human being or not. And that's a very painful state to be in. A healthy sense of a competition has more of an abundance mindset, whereas an unhealthy view will have scarcity mindset. So an unhealthy view will be like, yep, zero sum. There's either a winner or a loser. And while that might be true, and people who have a healthy attitude towards competition might feel like, yep, this game, there's a winner or a loser, or this race, there's a number 1, a number 2, and number 3. But it's not the be all and end all, because if I end up number 5 this time, what is it I need to emulate to do better next time? There's a broader perspective with healthy competition. There's the perspective of the world is vast. There's a lot of people, right? And I might be looking at my success or failure compared to these people, but there's a much broader universe out there. And for the most part, in a very broad sense, our individual success is not dependent on somebody else losing. A healthy attitude towards competition is more of a growth mindset. That's the mindset of I can improve, I can take on things, I can do things to improve. A fixed mindset is more like I either have the skill or don't. I either am a great singer or I'm not a singer at all. A fixed mindset does not bring in our incredible ability to learn and change and adapt. A growth mindset does. Healthy competition honors the values of both sides of the competition, right? If you are competing in a particular way, there's a value set under that. And healthy competitors will honor that value system. Unhealthy competition does not honor it. Big example could be in sports where people might dope so that they can compete better. It's cheating, right? It's not honoring the values and the rules and the setup of the competition. Someone who has a healthy attitude towards competition can actually feel joy in somebody else's success. I know that might sound like a leap, but at least admiration. You can admire somebody who performs incredibly well in different areas. An unhealthy mindset for competition really ends up in a lot of envy and bitterness. So it either ends up in like envy and bitterness or despicable behavior, right? It's along those lines. Whereas a healthy attitude is like, wow, they really did great. I might be a little envious, but I can still appreciate the winner's success, skills, etc. And I think something else that comes into a healthy attitude towards competition is the knowledge that we all have different advantages and disadvantages. Luck plays a role a lot of the time. There's so many different factors that impact our performance in anything, right? I'm not only talking about sports, but really anything, our work, our friendships. All of these things are very complex and multifaceted. And a healthy sense of competition will bring that in. Someone with a healthy attitude towards competition will really look at it as if they're unlocking their own potential. How do I unlock my potential and maximize it? Someone with an unhealthy sense, the winning will mean more than anything else. And there's that element of feeling worthless if you don't win. And that feeling of feeling worthless if you don't win, that's shame-based, and that's why I started the video today by saying if that's really your focus, your self-esteem will never be good, even if you win, because there'll always be something else to win, right? That's where some of that perspective comes in as well. Someone who is overly competitive in a very unhealthy way can be very focused on impressing others, and the looking for validation from others can really be based in self-doubt and insecurity. Because at core, you're looking for validation of your self-worth. And you are worthy as a human being alone. Really, you are. And now I can hear the comments that I'll get in terms of we all look for validation from others. And yes, we do. And we all want to be admired, right? But within balance. It's not the be-all or end-all. So I want to talk about 3 of the deeper issues underneath our approach to competition, because these issues lead you to what you can do about it. If your competitiveness is causing you harm or others harm, right, your loved ones harm, then these concepts will be super helpful for figuring out kind of like, how do you shift this around so that you have a better relationship and you can be happier? So the number one deeper issue is that we develop our attitude towards competition largely from our family dynamics. Now, obviously also from our society and from other things, but those core family dynamics can really drive it. So if we had a model of somebody who competed in a very unhealthy way, it probably made us feel terrible when we were little, and it taught us some things, right? We learn things like it's a zero-sum game. You're either on top or you're on the bottom. We learn that early in our families. And the scarcity mindset can come from watching how our parents or caregivers interact with the world, but it can also come with our relationship with our siblings, right? Siblings sometimes end up being very competitive with each other. If there's a feeling that there's not quite enough attention and love to go around, then if my sibling gets it, I don't get it. Right? That resource, if that's limited in my house, my family of origin, that could stay with me for a long time. So it's worth exploring your family dynamics. What did you learn about competition? Do you believe the beliefs of the family system about competition? And are these beliefs helping you be happy or not happy? Okay, then we're going to move on to concept number 2, which is comparisonitis. Constantly comparing yourself to others. Now, this has been tied in research to unhappiness. It's pretty clear that the people who really, really focus on comparing themselves to others, those who are considered sensitive to social comparisons, are less happy than those who might compare themselves a little bit, but it's not a continual focus. And I do have an entire video, maybe 2, on comparisonitis, so I can link one of those here. But if you fall into this trap, it might be worth really, really trying to step back, bring in more of that bigger picture perspective, and understanding that that constant comparing is really not all that valid. It really does not need to be that meaningful. Okay, and then the number 3 reason here would be negative core beliefs that we develop about ourselves or the world from childhood. If we grew up and it was like, only if you achieve are you worthwhile, only if you achieve do you get the attention you deserve as a child, then when we don't achieve and when we don't win, we will truly feel like we have no worth. And this concept of negative core belief is utilized in a lot of different theories for therapy, in particular cognitive behavioral therapy, and then as well as EMDR. And I was EMDR trained, and I found it to be an incredibly useful way to help people recover from these early beliefs. And in my 20 years of working with people as a psychotherapist, I found that most people have between 2 and 3 really core negative core beliefs that underlie almost all the difficulties in their lives. So I did develop a free PDF, you might be interested, called Transform Your Negative Core Beliefs. It helps you walk through the steps to identify what those beliefs might be for you, and then it helps you come up with a positive, adaptive alternative, not a pie in the sky, incredible positive, not an affirmation, but a really adaptive, reasonable, positive belief that you truly can believe, and it gives you a few ways to get there. So, encourage you, download that. The link will be in the description to this video. And whether you do that work with this PDF or with a therapist or in some other way, healing that negative core belief is really what will improve your life. All right, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about competition. Where is it healthy for you and where is it unhealthy? If you liked this video, please do hit that like button and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you next week.